as you look at consumer brands coming in this environment in India, and it doesn't mean that you're investing in India. I just want to but I wanted to kind of
Yeah.
keep it to an India level. Um, what would you look for today in a brand? I mean, and how would that be perhaps a little different than how you made decisions on which brands to bring into the country, 20 years ago?
Look, I think that to me, the way I'd look at investment opportunities, first of all, if I look at the product or the brand, I'd like to make sure that it is servicing a very relevant need, or it's solving a life problem. And it's doing that, or it's got ambition to do that better than anybody else. So that's the first thing. It's going to be a product or brand that's going to make a difference to somebody's life, a consumer or a customer, depending on what kind of a business is it. That's the first point.
Okay.
But then the second point, and perhaps even the more important point, is the founder, the entrepreneur. Because in the end, people make the difference, back to what we were saying earlier. So to me, the founder and his qualities are, in some ways far more important than the product or brand idea. Because if you're backing the right person, that person is more likely to make a business a success.
Is there a skill set for someone who's starting a consumer brand? Is there a skill set outside of, let's say, skill sets you need in general to be an entrepreneur? Is there a skill set that you think you would want to look for specifically in that founder?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say that I think I welcome people who are, first of all, great listeners. So they've got to be out there. Go back to what we were discussing all the time about talking, listening to your consumer, listen to your customer. It's only when you listen actively do you actually understand what problems you're trying to solve and come up with solutions that other people haven't thought of. So you've got to be a great listener to the customer. I think the second thing is I value people who follow the 80-20 rule, which is they get an offering 80% right and start doing something, get to market, learn through doing, adapt. The third corollary to that is people who know when to change. This is building a business is not a straight line, and you're going to have to chop and change direction. You'll make mistakes, or you'll learn from others' mistakes, and knowing when to change the path you're on is really important. Telling the story, being able to tell it persuasively. We talked about discussing with investors earlier. Telling the story simply to investors, to consumers, to employees, to attract talent. I think that's a really important quality. But perhaps the most important quality is determination, resilience, because this is hard. This business of creating businesses is hard. And therefore, you need someone who you feel can have the resilience to take all the knocks and still survive and thrive.